Last year, I talked about the long history of Scooby-Doo and Halloween. I skipped over the movie, mainly because the video was already long enough, and I only like one of the three movies, and I say three movies because I do not count Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery, because just because they say, or just camera says October 31st, I don't count it as a Halloween movie because they don't talk about trick-or-treating, they don't talk about going into Halloween costumes, so I do not consider it a Halloween movie, but I will include them in a future video. What I do count are Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King, Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo, and Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. So now let's get into what happens on these Halloween nights. The movie starts off with the title sequence of the gang on a roller coaster, and at the Halloween Carnival, the trio get in a picture cutout of things they will become in the future. Then we get Shaggy's love for Halloween.
Like Halloween is the one night when you know everything is fake. Just take a look around. It's nothing but wannabe witches and goofball ghosts as far as the eye can see.
The trio sees a poster of a magician named Kurdsky. This said magician gets drenched by Scooby when he jumps into a barrel of apples. Shaggy tells Scooby how they're going to ruin his act, and so they do by Scooby popping out of the hat, and the boys spoil his tricks of coming out of the floorboard and hole in the table. Kurdsky gives them a warning, and the gang get kicked out. The boys go trick-or-treating, dressed up as octopuses in a sundress and whatever that other thing is, an astronaut and an alien, and they sit in bags of candy as a vampire and a ghost. We see the others are dressed up as a cat, a mummy, and a pumpkin. The boys go do one more trick-or-treat as a fairy flies into Kurdsky's tent. She lands by a book that looks like the spell book from The Witch's Ghost. As he's crying about missing something, the fairy drops the book, opening the page to something that he was wanting. Shows him his answer. The fairy messes with him and gets caught, and gets her powers stolen. Now we catch back up with the boys going up to their last house. The boys go in and mess around, and they meet Mr. Gibson, and he breaks into a song and dance. Princess Willow. She goes to Gibson for help and tells them what happened. Kurdsky explodes into the shop. He gets Willow and turns Gibby into a rabbit. Gibby gives them a glimpse of the future with a Wizard of Oz reference.
Oh, Scooby-Doo, where are you? Dorothy, where are you?
Shaggy says what every Race Against Time movie has.
What? Like the future? As in stuff that hasn't happened yet and therefore might be changed if we embark on a perilous quest to alter the hand of destiny? Like that kind of future?
Gibby shows them what Kurd is after and his plan.
Powers of Halloween night would rule here forever, turning everyone into horrible Halloween monsters just like your friends.
Gibby gives them their journey, and he gives them a deck of magical cards. Shaggy reads one, and they become monsters. A train comes out of the ground, and they get taken and left with a mystery of how to get back before sunrise. The boys get spooked and stop the train. They end up in front of a graveyard and a werewolf and become one. They get accepted into a ghostly bar where we can see a werewolf from the classic series, and a blue roller coaster, and possibly a no-face zombie. After getting spooked by a Medusa, another song plays.
Gather round here underground and listen to our song. We can rock this joint till dawn if you sing along. Hey, what goes on with the night? We go on with the night.
In this song, we get more cameos of classic monsters. A classic troll from A Phantom Shadow, Creeper. Shaggy ruins the mood by mentioning the Goblin King. They all freak out and scatter. The Goblin King's henchmen come in and take the boys. Then a pumpkin helps them out. They get out of the bar and are spooked by the Headless Horseman. They run into a pumpkin patch and hide. But then that doesn't last very long, so they have to run out. They read more cards, but they don't go as planned, and turn the Headless Horseman into a few different things.
Flowers? Found calamity! Baby on a frog!
Shaggy drops all the cards, and Jack gets swooped up. Shaggy swings in, taking off Jack and saving Shaggy. They cross a bridge and the horseman doesn't follow. The gang are looking for the boys and find a windy tent. As they're looking into the tent, they see Kurtzky talking to the Goblin King. Velma faints of real magic. Kurtzky sets a meeting at midnight, and the trio gets their plot. Save the fairy, find the boys, and trap Kurtzky. In the Dead Bogs, we get to a witch's hut. They get inspired by Jack about courage.
Are you kidding? You guys rescued me from the brainless horseman. Hello? That took real courage. And everybody knows courage is the most powerful magic of all.
He leaves and they go into the hut. Shaggy gets turned into a slug and Scooby gets turned into a mouse. They get turned back and get a magic broomstick to the castle and poison to get inside. The goblins shoot them down, crash landing into Fairy Town. The fairies will fix Broomy and they tell them of the changes in the air.
Fairies use only good magic, balancing out all the bad magic used by the shadow goblins.
But tonight the balance is shifting.
And we also get told about the Goblin Rave, the busiest night on Halloween night. The boys go down to the Goblin Realm. They drink the poisons and become costumed up Daphne and Velma and get crushed on. Inside, they spot the king and the scepter. They go for it, but are stopped and get thrown into the dance circle, and another song plays. Scooby gets the staff and they try to escape. The king gets it back and sends out his minions. He sends the boys to a dungeon and goes to his meeting. They make the trade. Daphne triggers ropes and Fred saves Willow. And Kurtzky gets the staff, becoming goblinified. Kurtzky makes the Goblin King into a goose. Daphne and Fred run off. The boys get broken out by fairies and have Broomy to fly back up, and Jack is there to help them through the dark cave. Goblin Kurtzky turns Van into a monster machine. They get chased to the carnival and the door seen through tents. The van crashes through a scrappy booth. Didn't notice that. They all ride the Ferris wheel. Then the future is now. They become monsters. The boys ride in, getting the staff. They turn him back to a human and turn the trio and Gibby back and set the fairy free. Goose turns back into the Goblin King and traps Curd. Then we learn.
No. And I'm sorry, Daddy.
Everyone says their goodbyes. Then the trio forget everything by sunrise. My thoughts on this. It's been a while since I've sat down and actually watched this movie. So it was okay. It's better. It's a little bit better than I thought. It feels out of place to just put songs in here. It's weird. It's different for what's new type movie to just add songs in there randomly. And they don't get chased by the monster at all. So they had to be running from other things. The twist of it being the Goblin King being the father of the fairy is kind of weird. And you could probably pick it up because she's Princess Willow and then the Goblin King. And then the future that they needed to stop still happened. So it wasn't prevented in any way, but they knew about it and so they did stop them. So the train scene feels unnecessary because they get on and then they get right off, but then then everything is convenient. They conveniently were stopped outside of the bar that gets them to Jake, which Jake takes them to the cabin, and then the broom conveniently crashes into Fairy Town, and then the fairies bring them to the elevator. I just feel like there's a lot of fluff in here. That's probably why I hate it. The train feels most unnecessary because everything else comes back. Jake helps them The fairies help them break out, and then Broomy helps them get out. So it's like the train felt unnecessary, and then becoming monsters for that little short time also felt unnecessary. Yeah, and then giving them magical cards was just built up for laughs, because it did work one time, and then the shield ran away, the gnomes got scared, and then all the other cards just changed the way that the Headless Horseman looked. And then they lose them all. Are obviously going to forget this whole adventure happened by the next movie or by the next show. So, because the writers won't reference it. So why do the boys get to remember, but the trio don't? Like, there's no point for them forgetting, because the boys are obviously not going to bring it up in the future. So I just feel like that whole forgetting scene was unnecessary. Anyway, that is Scooby-Doo and the Goblin King. For a movie called The Goblin King, we surely don't get a lot of the Goblin King. We mostly get boys going on this fluffed journey to get to the Goblin King, and that doesn't even happen for that long. And so, yeah, without further ado, let's just get on to the next Halloween movie. Happy Halloween, Scooby-Doo. The movie starts off with a Halloween parade, with Elvira on top of a car throwing out candy. Fred is on a float and gets a lock on.
Barbie shop, second floor.
Everyone gets ready. Then the Scarecrow bursts out of the building. He scares off everyone, including Red Herring. Elvira goes into her coffin and car. The boys don't want to see or hear the chaos, so they start our musical intro. After the intros, they stop Scarecrow with an app. Velma unmasks to be Dr. Crane. The officer comes and complains about work. Daphne tries to get him to say the thing. He does, but differently.
If it hadn't been...
But I am getting away with it.
So then the drones from a dead man switch. We are told that they will release a toxin giving 76 hours of terror. They come crashing down thanks to Scooby and Shaggy. They get celebrated. Crane gets locked up and they explain how they got him. He steals Toami Tech, but it doesn't leak. He gives us a riddle, and then if you watch my reaction, that's when I thought he was the Riddler.
I believe we are both caught in the same trap. It was an app.
Wait, what's that supposed to mean?
Oh, dude, he's the Riddler. The van gets towed and Fred is trying to cope with that. Shaggy and Scooby go trick-or-treating with a little music. They got Scooby snacks in their bags. Oh wait, there are no bags. Then Shaggy drops the Scooby snacks and they roll all the way to a pumpkin patch where they find a drone that reads,
Oh, I'll leave frame. Totally framed, man.
Then they see a toxic waste truck flowing past a drone of terror gas, and then that is flowing into a pumpkin patch. So the jack-o'-lanterns morph and the alpha appears. They roll away and dig holes to get away. They use a branch to destroy one. With the trio, we catch up with the officer who brings up the trash monster of Scranton. A little girl thanks the gang. The father, Mike, also thanks and offers to do something in return. Elvira brings reporters to the trio. The boys come running, mumbling about what they saw. Everyone doesn't believe them. Velma basically yells at them.
You have to believe me.
No, I don't! You guys are a mess! You've eaten way too much candy, we've already solved the mystery, and you're talking nonsense! You guys locked yourselves in the mystery machine instead of helping! Maybe you can just skip this part too.
Daphne cleans them off with Velma and Fred. Velma mentions pup named Scooby-Doo, as Fred says,
There is no I in Mystery Incorporated. Except for the obvious one.
Bill Nye calls Velma and gives them Mr. Machine X. Fred doesn't like it. While sitting in the van, they hear a scream. The duo go and check it out. And then they're told that she was taken towards the pumpkin patch. And so they go and they see the truth of the pumpkin patch while Hasselbaum gets taken and turned. With Daphne and Elvira, they see the truth on the streets, and Daphne fights back. Shaggy and Scooby are also attacked, running into town. They hide, and then they see that the lights are going out. Fred and Velma run by from the Alpha Jack-o'-lantern, and so then the boys run into the corn maze. Elvira saves the boys with a float. As the boys run to the van, Earth starts to crack. Fred needs Mike to save them. They all drive off. City goes down. Velma questions what she's seen. Bill gives us info on the events. The jackals are right behind them. Daphne disconnects the float. Velma slows down to use lasers on some pumpkins. But the pumpkins don't stop. The boys answer if they're real by licking the pumpkin juices off. Bill answers the toxin theory that they weren't exposed to toxins because he scanned the air. Velma mentions her mind palace, and she tries to think of possibilities and the clues. They try to convince Velma of the pumpkins. Shaggy sparks an idea for Velma by mentioning trap. They catch up to the police escort. The officer we know slows down to make a call. He catches back up and then gets taken. Velma presses some buttons in the van, and she ejects and flies to the escort. The Alpha scoots by on the OG van. Fred doesn't like that. The boys join Velma. She talks to Dr. Crane, and he tells us that he didn't plan on attacking and talks about fear. Shaggy says,
But dude, who would be out to get the Scarecrow and the Scooby Gang?
the pumpkins attack the cell room. Elvira agrees to swap clothes with Daphne for some reason. Fred uses the van to save Mike and Michelle. The van dies. The police van gets cut in half, and the boys are saved by Elvira as Velma saves and lets out Dr. Crane. Velma saves the ones trapped in the van. Dr. Crane fights off the pumpkins, and everyone gets into Elvira's car. Crane gets taken. Gas goes out, and they run into the woods. Fred goes crazy, rips off his shirt, and muds up to set traps. Velma and the boys go into her mind palace by eating Scooby snacks. Inside the mind palace, they start off at the Scarecrow attack, looking and remembering Toe Omnitech. Then they go to when the reporter was eaten and show Velma the drone. Outside the mind palace, the pumpkins start rolling up. Traps are triggered, and they fight some off. They get surrounded as the Alpha joins. Velma admits to being scared of failure and jumps into the Alpha. Fred uses the app again, and all the pumpkins go down. The Alpha opens up to reveal Velma and all those eaten. The pumpkins were lifted up by the drones. Velma explains the Alpha.
Everybody got put into the monster's mouth. Then their personal possessions were switched to a jack-o'-lantern drone and sent back out. The big guy here puts out an electromagnetic pulse which disrupts electronics and makes sure that no one can contact the outside world once they've been eaten.
Velma pushes a button to reveal no one. Then a hologram comes out, the eyes being the officer. One of his motives was he was never remembered by the gang. Velma tells us that he is Cutler Toe, former head of Toe Omnitech, and that was the trash monster of Scranton. We get his motive and plan. During that, we get a flashback of a terrible sequel that shall not be named. The officers go to catch him, but he gets taken and jumped by Scarecrow before they get there. They walk and join a party. Then we see Elvira's wig. Elvira wraps up the movie with something truly scary. And then the credits roll. During the credits, we see plans for a super mystery machine. We see them getting jobs, also looking for parts in a junkyard, the building of the mystery machine, and a Dr. Frankenstein reference. My thoughts on this movie. I liked the driving, all the movie pretty much, and it was a nice change of form. Like we've never seen them driving for a whole movie, so and it was kind of weird because they seemed like they were just talking normal, and then the other people could hear them. Even though there was one time where Daphne had her look like her window was up, so she wasn't really in the conversation. And then the designs of the pumpkins, those were terrifying at times. They were all like, and I like how some pumpkins were like, boo, and like they still had the design things on their faces. So those were really cool. I like that. I also like that they give us little sprinkles of the officer in other movies, like in Return to Zombie Island. He was there at the end, and then I remember. I think the original first clip was from the Curse of the 13th Ghost. I don't know. That's why it's like little sprinkles. I don't remember which ones. I also haven't seen Return because it's a terrible movie, and 13 Ghosts because I don't have a way to watch 13 Ghosts. Also, connecting it to DC, or Warner Brothers owns DC and Scooby-Doo, so they were just like, let's just throw that in there. And technically, Batman's canon, so we'll just make it Scarecrow. So, yeah, it's just a fun thing. And then the references that you probably didn't notice, I mean, it's pretty in our face because it shows a guy running away and the van is called Red Herring. And then Velma says, we've been together ever since we had a pup named Scooby-Doo. So, yeah, those were just a little couple fun things to notice the first time viewing. So, yeah. Let's just get into the next movie, probably the worst Halloween movie. Trick or Treat, Scooby-Doo. The movie starts off with a capture of a cat creature with a giant laser pointer and an avalanche. They don't care about her stories, so they take her mask and go to the Mystery Machine. They analyze a whisker and find out
The materials used to make the Catman suit are identical to every other costume from the criminals we've captured.
Then we get flashes of classic cases. The Spooky Space Coup, Captain Cutler, Ghost Clan, and the Black Knight Ghost. They name drop the costume creator as Coco Diablo. Then at Coco's hideout, we see people working on costumes. Coco then meets with a client and bumps into Trevor. She trashes his costume. Coco shows the client the 10,000-volt ghost costume. The client reveals themselves to be Shaggy and Scooby. Her head office lifts to reveal the gang and an officer waiting. Velma comes along and falls in love with Coco. Fred explains how they did it, bashing on Daphne for not doing anything. And the opening montage starts with boring cases, like rats eating groceries, getting a cat out of a tree, getting a ball on the other side of a fence. 1 year later, they're at an office helping and being a real menace. The gang talk about Coco in that they think they made a mistake. Scooby and Shaggy get a trick-or-treating dream, and then they wake up and then they scare each other with their costumes. Fred drives by a wishing well and then he goes to it and wishes for...
Oh, I sure do wish we had a creepy caper again.
The gang go to a festival to promote the Mystery Inc. The boys care for trick-or-treating more than promoting. No one goes to their booth, and while bobbing for apples, the boys are spooked by a ghostly Fred. The guys go back and stress about not saying anything. The ghost then appears and says,
I'm here for you, Mystery Inc.
Everyone runs. They pay a visit to Coco. They learn about how big a fan the warden is, and a couple criminals yelling at the gang. Then shows off the force field. Then they talk to Coco about the new costumes. She tells them of a possible copycat. Velma suggests she help them. Daphne and Velma talk about Velma's crush on Coco. They all get in the destroyed Mystery Machine and head to the scene of the crime. Coco notices the...
Propylene. Judging by the trace amounts of propylene glycol, whoever's behind this clearly lacks imagination. Looking for some kind of detonation device that was triggered via remote control.
Coco picks up the guest book, opens it, and it says Nefario. They head to the public library. Fred finds and reads about Frederick Nefario and his evil entourage. Daisy is a copy of Daphne, Helga is a copy of Velma, Cragley and Rudy are a copy of Shaggy and Scooby, and they make a joke towards that. Then we also learn that the evil entourage cursed themselves with eternal life and balancing the scale. The gang are getting attacked because they disrupted that balance. Speaking of attacked, the mystery company attack. They run and split up. They all get back together after they're all chased by their counterparts. The librarian scares off the doppelgangers as the others sneak out. They go to Trevor's costume shop. Coco interrogates Trevor. Trevor mentions,
Last week, I sent some of my finest Victorian creations directly to Coolsville Penitentiary.
they suspect Coco. Trevor gets order receipts as Coco runs off. They redesign the mystery machine. They go to Coco's hideout. They split up. The duo go to food as the trio go to the ghouls playing Go Fetch and get caught. The duo get the attention with a fourth wall break.
Yeah, this whole franchise is named after me.
The boys drop them into the gator hole. Gators spit out and show the gang they were robots. Coco walks out of the shadows, being suspicious in her speech. Scooby follows the scent of the cat to the devil head. Devil head lifts to reveal the warden. Then they explain why.
Only the warden is technologically savvy enough to program robots this advanced.
You're like obsessed with Mystery Inc. enough to make them look just like us.
And only the warden had the ability to free Coco from her tracking bracelet.
But after putting away Coco Diablo, all your cases dried up. And when I saw how desperate you all were for an exciting new mystery, I just wanted to do something to repay the favor. Then I carefully planted clues all over town. And when Coco Diablo got involved, I knew that she would be the perfect dupe to pin it all on, because she was already serving hard time.
The warden accidentally opens the force fields of the prison and the criminals escape. Coco gives the gang costumes. Fred as the Black Knight, Daphne as the Space Kook, Shaggy as the Ghost Clown, Velma as Captain Color, and Scooby as the Catman. The criminals roam the streets of Coolsville. Just steal candy. Fred says, "What a night for a night," to Mr. Wickles. Velma spooks Captain Cutler. Daphne scares Henry. Shaggy hypnotizes kids to tackle Mr. Brainstrom. Cat gives allergic reaction to Hank. If you don't know these, Mr. Winkles was the Black Knight ghost. Velma spooks Captain Cutler, which was the ghost of Captain Cutler. Daphne scares Henry, who was the spooky Space Kook. Shaggy has the kids tackle, and then Hank is, and the cat gives an allergic reaction to the Minor 49er, and Scooby chases the cat creature from earlier. The next morning, all the criminals are caught, and then it slowly pans by all the references to the classic show. The boys get covered by the villain's candy, but gotta give it all back. But Trevor gives up his candy because he's on a diet. Trevor unzips himself to the complete opposite. Velma thanks Coco, and Coco makes Velma melt. Fred and Daphne talk about her role as leader, and Fred throws money into a well with an eyeball. My thoughts on this movie. I dislike that animation style. That animation style is the fucking worst. It works for a show because you only get 22 minutes of it. And for a movie, it should feel different compared to the show of the time. Like, Guess Who? That Guess Who art style just doesn't look right. It's also, it's a movie. It's supposed to look different. That's why I kind of like the What's New era movies a little bit less than the Abracadabra Do to the Gourmet Ghost era. That era looks good as a movie. Like, it's a movie. It should look different. It should look better than the cheap crap. And the money that they had for this movie were put into weird things, like faces a couple of times. Like the warden's face when he's yelling at a criminal. Fred's one face when he's helping get the cat down. And then Trevor's face when he's getting interrogated. Like, the animation really went into those. And then the money also went into buying Ballroom Blitz for this movie. I don't know how much Ballroom Blitz is, but it has to be expensive because some of the money went to getting that song. They also made Daphne seem useless a little bit in this movie. Like, what did Daphne do to help us catch Coco? Or what should Daphne do at our festival? Oh, let's let her sit down the book and open it. Wow. And then they don't, because I'm never going to see it this way, but Daphne is not the leader. Fred has always been the leader to me. So he's not just the driver for the gang. Another thing, I know this is a family movie, but if criminals were to break free, they would not steal candy. They would probably run away and go into hiding. Maybe go to Scotland or something and maybe make a Franken creep of some sort. Or maybe trick them into going to Scotland and then hypnotizing one of their members into thinking that they're Frankenstein and created the Franken creep. And put pine like needles in their little costumes to make them not like food anymore. I don't know. And maybe call it Franken creepy. Also, I don't like them knowing that it was a costume the whole time. And the animation style really isn't scary. I'd rather have a Be Cool Scooby-Doo movie. Because in that show, they at least made a couple scary things in there. And they actually gave the monster terrifying moments. And a jester poking through the smoke. Terrifyingly, I may add. Push over the portal, having Red Skull go up and down, until he catches himself and comes out. They at least gave the monsters a couple terrifying moments in the show. The ghosts, the ghouls weren't even terrifying at all. I don't like this movie. This movie sucks. This is at the very, very, very bottom with Return to Zombie Island. My top 10 worst Scooby-Doo movies will have to be a later video. There you have it. All of the Halloween Scooby-Doo movies. Which one is your favorite? My favorite is Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo. Hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did, please leave a big like down below. And if you guys haven't already, please check out my playlist of Scooby-Doo reviews. And then also, if you haven't already, I talked about all the Scooby-Doo episodes right here. So, yeah, subscribe. Peace.